I was born 17 years ago. For the past 6 months, I've been in my basement playing Skyrim. But for all those hours, I've never understood what the hell has been going on. I scoured the internet, searching for wikis, to find even the most obscure events in the Elder Scrolls. Behold, sunlight now enters my room. These are the early hours of the morning, and my few moments of free time. Fueled by obscene amounts of caffeine, I search for the events of the Elder Scrolls lore.
North of Tamriel is the frozen continent of Atmora. Prior to the human migration to Tamriel, Atmora is the continent where we believe that most of the human species actually originated from. Atmora means elderwood in some language I'm not even going to try to pronounce. It's spelled out EHLNOFEX, so if you have any suggestions, please by all means post them in the comments. It, as previously stated, is the homeland of the Proto-Nords, so they're the ancestors to the modern Nords we have today. The name is a corrupted form of the Aldemari's title Atmora, a designation for the northernmost landmass inhabited by Mer, so there used to be some elves living up there too. Not much is really known about the history of Atmora, since most of this takes place very early on, when the records still aren't too good. It's only really known for its relationship with Tamriel, and especially the Nordic migration over. So, really, the first reports we really get of Tamriel and the last of Atmora are during the time of Yggdrasil. So, since Atmora is currently in civil war at the moment, him and some followers go over to Tamriel and build a colony. It turns out there's already some people living over in Tamriel, the Falmer, also known as the Snow Elves. Now, if you've watched the episode on the Snow Elves, you know how this turns out. They get along at first, but Snow Elves start to get a bit nervous on how quickly the Nords are multiplying, so they launch an attack on the city the Nords built, and they kill just about everyone, except Yggdrasil and a few followers who make it back to Atmora. By the time Yggdrasil and his friends get back to Atmora, well, all the violence is settled, and there's a bunch of Nords sitting around with nothing better to do, so they launch an attack on the Snow Elves in Skyrim, and they pretty much wipe the floor with them, so a lot of Nords start moving over to Skyrim. At the same time, we see Atmora begin to decline, for reasons even today we're really not too sure of. One of the last immigrant from Atmora was actually Tiber Septim, so also known as Talos, and very well known as the first emperor of the Septim dynasty. Getting back to Atmora, it's completely frozen over now, so it has no permanent residents, and there have been a few expeditions to it, but they've found that it's completely frozen over and absolutely uninhabitable. Why exactly it is, even today, we're not really too sure of. We don't even have too many accurate maps of Atmora either. You can find a few good ones to get a pretty good idea of the geography, but as far as cities goes, the only one that we know of is Jikulfi. Another word I'm not too great at pronouncing. It's spelled out Jylkufyk. Some Nord word. At any rate, it is the southernmost point on Atmora, on the coast of the Sea of Ghosts. By the way, the Sea of Ghosts is the sea in between Atmora and Tamriel. It apparently was quite good in its time and had massive shipyards. It's actually where Yggdrasil and his 500 companions built their fleet. But today it's completely abandoned. Again, not too many real reports in it, but it's likely just an abandoned ruin or a completely frozen over city. It might not even really still be around in any recognizable form, since it might have been swept away by glaciers, or the weather just might have taken its toll on it. The Sea of Ghosts, in between Atmora and Tamriel, is a pretty interesting topic all on its own. Up until even extremely recent times, there have been a few scattered reports throughout the northern provinces, and particularly Skyrim, of ghostly raiders, raiding, for lack of a better word, the countryside. Even in the quest Rising in the East, we can still see journals of a few terrified bandits talking about these ghost raiders, although it's pretty debatable whether or not this is just them going nuts, being in isolation up north. But the story is still out there, and there are tons of accounts of this sort of thing happening. Even Yggdrasil himself didn't do very well against the sea ghosts, which might just be a sly saying of suggesting some of his ships sunk, or maybe some sea monsters got him, but even when he's coming over to Skyrim, he does lose a substantial amount of ships, including one of his sons. So, whether or not we will ever really figure out for certain why Atmora really froze over, or whether or not there are even any plans to head back to Atmora, because even if the Empire is, theoretically, population was exploding, it's just ice, some mountains, really nothing too remarkable up there. However, there still are the legends about those ghosts, so who knows? And besides the fact that it just completely froze over for, as I've said, I don't even know how many times by now, reasons we are still unsure of, who knows? Maybe there's some ancient power of sorts up there. And maybe it's getting ready to attack Skyrim, so new DLC. New DLC. New DLC aside and everything, there's actually a few really cool mods, forum posts talking about mods for, Atmora, so yeah, hopefully those will get made. Also, as far as the other continents go, as much as I'd like to see them in add-ons for Skyrim, I'd have to bet if we ever are going to see them in any sort of official way, it's probably going to be with the Elder Scrolls Online. Well, speculation for mods and DLC aside, I'm TheLoopyAlchemist. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Just in closing, this episode might have seemed a bit short, even, maybe a tad rushed, especially considering I basically just said Frozen Wasteland, Ghosts, and Yggdrasil, who in all honesty probably deserves an episode on his own. Anyways, I'm actually researching another one at the moment. Quite a bit of stuff, so I like to be pretty thorough with these things. Again, if there's a topic you'd like to see me cover, please do not hesitate to post it in the comments. Also, if you'd like to discuss, that's what the comment section is for. And if I maybe got something wrong, feel free to tell me. Well, later.